The road stretched into dust. Thousands of sandals hit the earth in rhythm, thud, thud, thud. The heartbeat of an empire. Sun burned against bronze helmets, and sweat rolled down faces that hadn't seen rest in days. Each soldier carried his life on his back. Armor, shield, weapons, tools, and food. If you could call it that. To the world, Rome was unstoppable, its legions conquering from the forests of Germania to the sands of Egypt. But behind every victory, behind every banner of glory, was something far less glorious. A diet that would make even a starving slave hesitate. The Roman army didn't march on luxury. It marched on necessity. And survival, not comfort, was the only flavor it knew. Every empire is built on appetite. Gold, land, power. But Rome's appetite began in the belly. The Roman soldier was not just a warrior, he was a machine. 20 miles a day, with 80 pounds on his back, hunger could kill faster than an enemy spear. So the legions learned one truth: eat to survive, not to live. Every grain, every crumb, every drop of sour wine had a purpose. They didn't dine, they endured. Bread, salt, and vinegar. The soldiers' feast. The core of the legionary diet was grain, mostly wheat. Each soldier was issued a daily ration, around a kilo per man. He ground it by hand, mixed it with water, and baked it on stones beside the campfire. No yeast, no flavor, just hard bread called buccellatum. A food so dry it could last for weeks. It was not meant to be eaten, it was meant to survive. They soaked it in sour wine called posca, the soldier's drink of choice. A mix of vinegar, water, and sometimes herbs. It disinfected their water and numbed their hunger. The taste? Like punishment. But to a legionary, posca was life. When the legions moved into enemy lands, supply lines were thin. Each man carried weeks of food on his back: grain, bacon, dried fruit, and cheese. Spoilage meant starvation. So they learned to eat what the land provided, or what the land became. Barley for desperate times, wild roots boiled into paste. Sometimes even their horses when things went truly wrong. The Roman soldier could live on one meal a day if he had to. A loaf of hard bread, a bit of pork fat, and a handful of olives. To eat like that for months was to live half-starved, half-strong, a hunger sharpened into discipline. The centurions believed hunger made soldiers obedient, and obedience built empires. When the sun fell, the legion pitched camp. Ditches dug, walls raised, guards posted. Only then did the men eat. There were no feasts, just quiet chewing, the crackle of fire and the iron smell of armor cooling in the dark. Sometimes, when rations were good, they had lentils or beans boiled into mush, called pulse. The same meal slaves ate. Yet around that pot, stories were told about home, about gods, about glory. Because in the Roman army, food was not comfort, it was connection. The one reminder they were still human beneath the discipline. Behind every legion marched slaves, the unspoken cooks of empire. They built ovens, slaughtered animals, fetched water. They prepared meals they could never taste. And when food ran low, it was their rations that disappeared first. The Roman army's might rested not just on soldiers' strength, but on the suffering of those who fed them.
Food in the Roman army wasn't just nutrition, it was control. A soldier's rations were measured, distributed, and tracked by rank. Miss your ration? You'd gone hungry. Lose your grain supply? You'd be punished. Discipline began at the stomach. A man who complained about food was a man questioning authority. So hunger became part of training. They learned to march starving, fight tired, and sleep empty. Rome's enemies may have fought for freedom, but Rome's legions fought for order, and hunger was the price of obedience. When victory came, the food changed. Conquered cities meant feasts, roasted meat, wine, and honeyed cakes. The legion would celebrate for days, drunk on victory and gluttony alike. And then, just as quickly, it was back to hard bread and vinegar. The contrast reminded them, indulgence belonged to the emperor, not to men. Rome gave them enough to live, never enough to forget their place. In war, Rome's perfection often turned to desperation. During long sieges, soldiers ate moldy bread crawling with insects. Grain turned black with rot. Water turned green. They chewed leather straps to fool their bodies. Some records whispered darker stories of soldiers eating the flesh of fallen comrades when food vanished completely. Rome called itself civilized, but civilization ends where hunger begins. While the legions starved at the edges of empire, the emperors feasted in marble halls. Peacock tongues, flamingo brains, honeyed dormice. Dishes so decadent they mocked the hunger of the men who made them possible. The same hands that built empire couldn't touch the food it celebrated. The contrast was obscene, and perhaps that's why Rome fell. Not by invasion, but by indulgence. The empire's heart grew fat while its edges starved. The soldiers who once marched on discipline learned to envy, not obey. And when loyalty turned to resentment, even the mightiest empire began to crumble. Today's armies eat from sealed pouches, nutrient packs, energy bars, chemical coffee. Efficient, sterile, scientific. But the Roman legionary would have understood it. Different centuries, same truth. A soldier's meal isn't meant for pleasure. It's meant to keep him moving. The taste doesn't matter. Victory does. Archaeologists have found remnants of Roman kitchens in ancient camps. Charred grain, broken pots, even traces of olive oil sealed in amphoras. Their meals have long rotted, but their logic hasn't. The empire built by hunger remains the blueprint for every army that came after. Discipline, rations, control. Because Rome understood something simple and cruel. If you can control a man's stomach, you can control his soul.